In Little Women, Louisa May Alcott presents a diverse array of female characters, each reflecting different aspects of 19th century womanhood. Though Aunt March is a secondary character, Aunt March plays a significant role in the narrative, not only shaping certain plot developments, but also symbolizing tradition, wealth, and social expectations. Her presence in the novel acts as a moral and ideological counterpoint to the progressive ideals embodied by Marmee and her daughters. Through Aunt March, Alcott subtly critiques the limitations of conventional social structures, while also acknowledging their enduring influence in the lives of women. Role in the narrative. Aunt March, the wealthy and formidable great-aunt of the March girls, serves several important functions within the narrative. She is portrayed as irritable, domineering, and old-fashioned, but also pragmatic and, at times, surprisingly generous. Her presence offers both conflict and opportunity, particularly in the lives of Jo and Amy. Early in the novel, Aunt March becomes Jo's employer, offering her a position as a companion. This arrangement provides Jo with both financial support and an opportunity to experience a world beyond the confines of her modest home. Although Jo often finds Aunt March's rigid expectations frustrating, the relationship is foundational to her personal development. The exposure to Aunt March's values, conservative, aristocratic, and hierarchical, forces Jo to confront and solidify her principles, especially regarding independence and ambition. Later, when Aunt March takes Amy on a trip to Europe instead of Jo, this decision becomes a pivotal moment in the novel. It highlights the perceived importance of decorum, refinement, and social presentation, qualities Amy excels in and Jo consciously rejects. Aunt March's choice underscores the tension between personal desire and societal approval, influencing Amy's artistic development and eventual romantic connection with Laurie. In this way, Aunt March plays a direct role in shaping the fates of the younger March women. At the end of the novel, Aunt March's death and her unexpected bequest of Plumfield to Jo is another narrative turning point. By giving Jo the estate, Aunt March enables her to realize a dream that is both personal and progressive, transforming a symbol of aristocratic wealth into a democratic, inclusive school for boys. Thus, Aunt March's material legacy becomes a vessel for Jo's educational and social ideals. Symbolic significance. Symbolically, Aunt March represents the older generation and the weight of tradition. She is a relic of a bygone social order, deeply invested in hierarchy, wealth, and appearances. In her insistence on proper conduct, status consciousness, and gender norms, Aunt March reflects the constraints placed on women, particularly women of means, in the 19th century. However, Aunt March is not a simple caricature of snobbery or rigidity. Alcott imbues her with complexity. Despite her stern demeanor, Aunt March acts out of a sense of responsibility and, on occasion, affection. Her values may clash with those of the March family, but her actions suggest an underlying loyalty. Her willingness to provide financial support to take an Amy and eventually to entrust Jo with her property complicates her role. She is both an obstacle and a catalyst, a figure of resistance and transition. Aunt March also symbolizes the ambivalent nature of wealth. In Little Women, money is portrayed as both a necessity and a moral hazard. Aunt March's wealth provides stability and opportunity, but it also comes with strings attached. Expectations of conformity, gratitude, and submission. Her interactions with the March sisters, especially Jo, expose the power dynamics that come with financial dependence. Broader implications. Aunt March's character allows Alcott to explore themes of class, gender, and generational change. She embodies the values of a social class that believes in inherited privilege, strict gender roles, and external markers of success. Her views on women's roles are especially telling. She encourages Amy to cultivate manners and social graces, dismisses Jo's literary ambitions, and sees marriage as a means of securing financial and social stability. Through the contrast between Aunt March and the March girls, Alcott critiques these outdated views. By pursuing her writing career, refusing to marry for money, and eventually founding a school, Jo directly challenges Aunt March's worldview. Yet, the novel also acknowledges that Aunt March's wealth and influence cannot be entirely dismissed. Her decision to leave Plumfield to Jo may be read as a symbolic handing over of power, a reluctant endorsement of a new generation's ideals. Additionally, Aunt March provides a lens through which to examine how older women navigated a society that granted them authority only in the absence of male figures. As an unmarried, wealthy woman, Aunt March holds a unique social position. She has power, but it is circumscribed. She uses this power to assert control, often in sharp-tongued, opinionated ways that mirror how society limited women's voices. In some respects, Aunt March represents a survival strategy, grasping onto tradition and authority because they are the few tools available to her. Interestingly, her interactions with Jo reveal an intergenerational dialogue about what women can and should aspire to. Jo does not adopt Aunt March's values, but she learns from her example, taking the material wealth and reinterpreting its purpose. In this way, Aunt March's legacy becomes a foundation for progress. The old world is not destroyed but repurposed, reflecting Alcott's broader vision of gradual, principled social change. Conclusion. Though she appears infrequently in Little Women, Aunt March exerts significant influence over the novel's events and ideas. She represents the traditions and social structures of the past, hierarchical, status-conscious, and rigid, but also acts as a vehicle for transformation. Through her relationships with Jo and Amy, she plays a critical role in the development of the next generation, often in spite of herself. Her wealth, authority, and old-fashioned views both challenge and enable the March sisters, offering a complex portrait of power, privilege, and gender dynamics in 19th century America. Ultimately, Aunt March is not merely a comedic or antagonistic figure. She is a symbol of the older order that Little Women both critiques and draws upon. Her grudging generosity and final act of empowerment signal a reluctant recognition of change. In giving Jo the tools to forge a new path, Aunt March's character arc underscores one of Alcott's central messages: that progress is possible when tradition yields, however reluctantly, to purpose, passion, and principle.